Welcome to Market Overtime. I'm Caroline Woods here at the New York Stock Exchange. Do you have a credit card that gives you travel rewards? Or do you have a bunch of airline miles collecting dust? Good news, we've got just the guy here to help us understand the value of those points and what you can do to use them. Joining us now, Brian Kelly, founder of The Points Guy. Brian, thanks so much for being here. I have found myself on your website so many times wondering what the best travel credit card is, or is it worth it to use points for this flight or just pay out in full. But just for people who aren't familiar with you, let's start by just telling us about, who you are. What is The Points Guy?
Well, it's actually really fun being here on the stock exchange because before I started The Points Guy in 2010, I worked for Morgan Stanley and I did all of our campus recruiting for our tech division, and we would always take our interns here. So it's always fun to come back here. It's like an ode to my prior life. So, before I started The Points Guy, I was a road warrior. I mean, I was traveling 6 months a year, hotels, airlines, and I just knew how to work the system. I've actually been doing points since the 90s with my dad. It was like a bonding thing. He was a consultant. So every year our family would take an amazing trip to the Caribbean for free. And in the 90s, there wasn't even, the September 11th fee. It was free travel. So I got hooked on it many, many years ago. When I was at Morgan Stanley, I realized, during the Great Recession, I wasn't getting bonuses. In fact, one year my manager said, "Your bonus is not getting laid off this year. Now try again next year." And of course, being in my 20s in New York, trying to just rub my pennies together, I realized that my points from business travel led me to live, basically it was a double life. I was cash poor, but points rich, traveling the world in first class. And finally, my friends were like, what you do is really unique, right? You should start a blog. So I started a blog for fun in 2010. And now we've got 160 employees and one of the top travel websites in the world. So it's been a fun ride.
8 million monthly viewers on your website.
Yep, unique visitors, 8 million. And then plus, we got about 2 million people that read our newsletters every week, we have a 60% open rate. So our audience is really engaged. They're, traveling, spending money. So, social media on all the Points Guy channels. So it's really cool that we can reach so many people at different points in their travel journey, because at the end of the day, I do believe we are it's not the golden age of travel, we are in the platinum age of travel. Because if you know how to use loyalty, back in the golden age, you had to be rich to travel. The average cost of airfare was like 1% of your salary. Nowadays, you can travel the world. I know we have college students who read our website and are jet setting. So I love so much that knowledge can kind of unlock this world.
So I want to get to how to maximize the value of these points, some advice from you and whatnot. I do also want to get your sense, because you do have access to so many travelers, if you will, just in terms of the demand that we're seeing, because there were record highs in terms of travelers. But lately from companies, we've been hearing about, kind of a pullback from that, some moderation. Airbnb was talking about people waiting to book until closer to the date. Expedia was talking about softening travel demand. Booking was talking about kind of a moderation in Europe. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think the last couple years in the summer, flights were insane to Europe. People were just buying whatever they could. There was like a frenzy, and that has slowed down. Now, this is great for consumers because planes are still full. We had over 3 million people travel for the first time ever on the TSA over July 4th. Flights are full, but the airlines have added extra capacity, and consumers are just not willing to throw out money. They're deal seeking. So you can actually I'm flying this summer. I'm going to Ibiza over the Labor Day holiday, and it's $4,500 first class on British Airways. That ticket last summer was $10,000. There are really, business class for $2,500. So there are still paid deals out there as well as using your points. Even over the Olympics, I was at the Olympics, used Air France for 50,000 points, business class. And I booked the week prior, and those were $7,000 tickets.
So is that location specific or kind of a broader trend that you're seeing?
It's a broader trend that, business travel still hasn't picked up to where it was. There aren't as many last minute, bankers paying $10K to go to Los Angeles like they used to. So the pricing models in travel have changed fundamentally, I believe, in benefit of the consumer. A decade ago, Delta was giving away 80% of first class seats to elite members, and then charging an insane amount for that 20% to really gouge business travelers that had no choice. Now it's it's flipped. It's 20% of people are getting upgrades, which it's tough if you've got elite status. Elites have noticed over the years, during the pandemic, there was a lot of extending elite status and giving things away for free. That gravy train's over. You got to pay to play these days, and I say these are not frequent flyer programs, these are frequent buyer programs. So you've got to have the credit cards in order to play the game correctly. Simply traveling and getting points is not the way to win at the points game.
Yeah, we're going to get to all of that. I'm very excited about it because I'm hoping you can help me,
yes,
and I'm sure many others in the process. You talk about consumers being a little bit more choosy with their spending. They're not willing to just shell out money as much.
Yep.
That's because we're hearing savings rates are coming down. Are those point stockpiles also coming down? Do you have any insights there?
What's interesting, so what's going on in the points world is it's like inflation. We call it in the industry devaluation of the currency. Now think, this is the most brilliant business model airlines have ever come up with. Let me create a currency that we control and we can print and sell billions of dollars worth to the credit card companies. The credit card companies love this because people, they don't want a $50, $100 bonus to get a credit card. They want miles. They want the allure of travel, luxury travel sells so much better than if they had to pay people directly. So this whole system works where the airlines are just pumping out so many new miles that they're devaluing awards. So what I mean by that is 10 years ago, you could reliably get 100,000 miles on most major airlines to Europe. Business class tickets were 100,000, coach was like 40 to 50. Those numbers have 5x'd. You are routinely now seeing, Delta's kind of been the leader of this pack. They've got a great product, but they charge 700,000 miles to go to Europe round trip. Often, you can get it for less for sure, but every year that amount goes up. So what I tell people is do not just leave so many people are like, well, I'll save them for the future when I'm retired. No, because your points are actively losing value every day. Now, with that being said, I don't want people to just blow them on gift cards or merchandise. No. That's also terrible because you're going to get the easier it is to redeem your points. If you're at a point of sale in a taxi or in a McDonald's, use my Amex points.
Yeah.
Don't do it. The way to win at points is understanding transfer partners, and that is the real joy. It's complicated, but when you crack the transfer partner game, this is if you have the transferable credit card points like Chase, Amex, Capital One, Bilt, you can transfer them to loyalty programs, and the foreign loyalty programs have been devaluing their programs less. Because in France, they're not giving away 100, 200,000 point bonuses. So if Air France were to increase the amount of all awards for their members in France, they would have an uprising. Mm-hmm. The US programs are much more bold with just just constantly devaluing. So use them. So
help us understand really the value, because there's points, there's miles, and then there's things like cash back, as you kind of alluded to. Help us understand the value of each, just from maybe a dollar amount.
Yeah, so specifically with credit cards, there are three main types of credit cards. Number one, and rewards cards. Number one, cashback. If you're going to get a cashback card, get one. It's 2% is sort of the gold standard, right? So you can spend $100,000 bucks, you're going to get $2,000 back, which is not bad, but it's not life-changing. That $2,000 is not going to get you and your family to Europe in business class, like spending on transferable points cards can do if you play them correctly. So 2% is your return max. Most cards give 1, 1.5. Some credit cards will give 2. The second type of card is co-branded cards. And when looking at rewards cards, there's two things. It's points and perks. So you got to weigh both. So points, in general, you're going to earn less points on these co-brand, the airline credit card, the hotel credit card. For everyday purchases, you're not earning a lot of points, but they're going to give you great perks, like free annual nights at hotels that way outvalue what you're paying in the annual fee right there. So I have a ton of credit cards for the perks alone. Delta credit cards will give you free check bags for you and up to 8 traveling companions on every single flight for a $100 credit card. So why would you be paying, if you check bags, you would never want to pay for bags, you just get the credit card for the perks. So you're getting like a 1% return on the points, roughly, but you're getting hundreds or thousands in value if you know how to use the perks.
That's if the credit card is $100 though, because some of these other credit cards, I have one more specifically, charges $550. And there are perks, you get maybe a $300 travel credit, but how do you know when the credit card is actually worth it?
Yeah, so the third and final type of card, which you're alluding to, like the Chase Sapphire Reserve, right? These are the transferable cards. And if you talk to any points expert, we all put most of our money on transferable points cards because to get the most value, you need to have options. the big mistake a lot of, especially business travelers, will make is, I fly American Airlines. They go all in on American. I got millions of American miles. And then they're like, well, I want to go and stay at the Ritz-Carlton Maldives. How do I do it? You can't, or at least not at a value that makes sense. However, if you had a Chase card, you could transfer to Marriott and sometimes even at a bonus. So, but those transferable points cards, they also have perks, and especially those premium ones like the Sapphire Reserve. It's $550, which some people will just say, oh my God, that's crazy. But $300 a year immediately off your card, even for Uber, parking, or tolls. So you're really looking at $250 a year for a credit card that gets you triple points on all travel and all dining categories.
Triple. And then if you book through the
then you
portal,
can get extra points
more.
If you book extra. So,
but is your point that, I don't want to even make it too specific to Chase, but if you transfer it versus even book through a credit card portal, you get more?
Yeah. So back to what let's benchmark it to the cashback 2% back on your spend. On a Chase Sapphire Reserve, you're getting 3 points per dollar on travel and dining, and those points are worth 1.5 cents each when you redeem for any travel. This is not jumping through hoops. It's pretty much, that's a 4.5% return. You're doubling the value of return on the travel and dining spend. Everything else is 1 point. So for everything else, you're getting 1.5%. So a little bit lower than that too. But where the real money comes in is on the perks. So the Chase Sapphire lounges are the nicest lounges in America, where they now have them at 10 airports and growing, where when you go to LaGuardia, you're getting meals, you're getting a beautiful experience, your flight's delayed, which a lot are these days. You and your family are not in the, to answer your question, am I getting the value out of these cards? It depends on each and every person's individual habits.
So I think the key is really just knowing what your benefits actually
Absolutely.
are. Staying on top, because they change
They
too.
change, but get it. And the beauty of it is not, there's 3 factors in the points world: learn, earn, and then burn. So learning-wise, there is so much information. I mean, my team at the Points Guy, we have experts who study this stuff every day. So if you've got a lot of Chase points and you're watching, I don't know how to use them, literally just Google, spend a couple hours, Google how to maximize Chase points. You can throw in the Points Guy, because I think our content's the best. But there's Reddit, and what I love about points is that the more you mine your knowledge in them, the more valuable they'll become.
But the issue is, it's not always beneficial to use points. Sometimes I'll check flights, and you look at how many points it's costing you, and even if it's dollar for dollar, it's just cheaper to pay
100%.
in cash. Is there a formula to figure that out? How do you know what the best deal is?
Yeah, at the Points Guys, so our team of experts, we use data and our expertise in the industry and saying, we value Delta miles at like 1.4 cents a piece. So if it's $1,000 flight, and Delta's only charging 50,000 points, that is 2 cents per point in value. That's an absolute yes. Anything over 1.4, we'll say that's a good redemption. Now, if it's a $500 flight and they're charging 200,000 points, run. Just buy the flight.
What if it's 1 for 1 though?
If it's 1 for 1, it's a personal situation. What is your personal cash flow like? Is saving the $1,000 on tickets at 1 cent a piece going to allow you to have a better family vacation? Is it going to allow you to pay off debt? So it's very personal. At the end of the day, you need to be using points, and I will never discourage someone. When people come up to me and say, I've liquidated 1 million points for a Weber grill, it kills me a little bit, but at least you're using it for something. And I think for people who want merchandise, shopping, et cetera, do not get the premium travel cards. Get that 2% cashback card, because $100,000 will get you $2,000 on a cashback. $100,000 is 100,000 Amex points, let's call it. That will get you $600 in gift cards.
Okay.
So, when you're redeeming for cash, merchandise, gift cards, anything in between, do not put it on one of the travel cards. The travel cards are beautiful when you want to transfer first class, upgrades, etc. But for people who have so many, points and then just start redeeming them for silly things, you're way better off just getting cash back, even if it doesn't feel as good when you're paying for your items.
Are you making the case against having a credit card specific to an airline then? Is there any benefit to remaining loyal to one particular airline now because of points versus miles?
So the only real reason I would say to put most of your spend on a co-brand card, mostly with airlines, is that now they're making you spend on the credit cards to get elite status. So if you're an elite traveler and you're not flying or your company's not spending enough to quite get you to the elite status level, because now you really need to be the top tier to get value. So there is a calculation where by spending on the airline co-brand to get that status, which gets you the few upgrades that there are, that get you home when there's a flight cancellation, once again, you have to do the value on yourself. But in general, if you don't care about elite status, do not spend on a co-brand card, because you're literally choosing a currency that's worth a penny when you could be choosing a currency worth a nickel. So in no way would you ever want to spend $1 to get a penny over spending $1 to get a nickel.
But then you have to worry about, okay, if I don't book through a United card, I have to pay for my bags then. I don't get the priority boarding, that type of thing.
Well, sometimes you still will. Some of the co-brand cards, it attaches to your loyalty account, and you're a card holder. Now, they want you to use your card to buy the ticket. Some airlines will mandate that you buy it, but fine, just pay for your ticket. But when you're paying for groceries, dining, et cetera, you never want to earn one singular United mile when you could be earning 3 ultra valuable Chase points, which, by the way, transfer one-to-one instantly to United. So there would be no reason to punch yourself in the face and get one single currency when you have a currency that transfers to 15 other incredibly valuable partners, including the one that you have.
So if somebody's watching and they aren't into points and now their head's spinning because they're like 1.4 transfer, crack the code, that type of thing, what is the, aside from don't get a travel card unless you're actually traveling and
the
using
airline
it,
co-brand,
what's the most important piece of advice for somebody who wants to get started but maybe is a little bit intimidated?
The very first thing is look at your expenses. What do you spend money on? What do you spend in categories? Now, and get a credit card that will bonus you in those categories. For example, most people spend dining and groceries. Amex Gold gives 4 points per dollar for dining and groceries. The Amex Platinum, which is almost $700, only gives 1 point. So many people assume, well, I'm paying for the highest tier Amex, it's got to be the best in points. Wrong. It's the best in perks, but the gold card blows it out of the water for points earning.
All right, I'm learning so much here. So I guess the thing is, if somebody's watching and says, okay, nothing is free. Nothing, everything comes at a cost. What's the catch?
So there is no catch if you play the game, if you listen to my simple rule. So A, you want to maximize your sign-up bonus. And the beauty is, I know a lot of people will beat themselves up, oh, why I don't have any of these cards. Consider yourself lucky. I've got 28 credit cards. I've gotten every major bonus out there. I can't even get new offers because the credit card companies limit you essentially over time. So it is a blessing if you haven't gotten most offers, because you can get thousands of dollars in value from a single sign-up. So I would say approach it strategically and get the biggest sign-up bonus offer you can. And a lot of the times the credit card companies will give you, if you don't have a lot of credit cards already, there's a tool called Card Match. You put in the last 4 of your social, and it pulls up any offers that are targeted to you. And at the Points Guide this week, we reported there's offers for 175,000 points on the Platinum card.
Wow.
So 175,000 points at the very base, 1 cent a piece is $1,750. The card is $695 a year. Plus, you're getting $200 here for other credits. So what is the catch? The catch is you just have to pay them off in full every month. If you are in debt, or if you're paying 30% APR, then even if it's a nickel in value, if you're paying 30 cents for a nickel, you're losing. But as long as you pay them in full every month, you pay 0 in interest, and you're earning your nickel for every dollar. All of a sudden, that starts to rack up. And the joy of having points in the Amexes, the Chases, and Capital Ones is these transfer partners where, like I mentioned, 50,000 points was a business class ticket to Paris, JFK to Paris. I mean, it's a $6,000 ticket, 50,000 points. Let's do the math there. Basically 10 cents per point in value because I transferred. 50,000 points in gift cards is $300. So I say to you, what would you rather have? $300 Saks gift card or a business class flight to Paris that's, let's call it $3,000.
So the whole, I want to get upgraded for free. I want to ride first class for free because you see people on Instagram doing it. I've certainly never gotten called for an upgrade. I'm on the list and I'm always like number 12 and there might be 6 seats available. How do you do that?
So that game is played by, if you really want to get the highest levels, you need to spend on the airline co-branded card. So that is where it might make sense to say, okay, well, I'm going to accept earning less miles and more valuable points. I'm going to just earn on the airline, but if you're strategic and you spend enough and bam, all of a sudden you rocket to getting upgraded on 50% of your flights. You do the math in a year, those 50, are worth $500 each. Okay, I'm going to forego a couple thousand in value in points because I'm getting 5,000. So everything is a personalized. There's no blog or person that will tell you all in one based on where you want to go, how you use your points, where you shop. There's so many variables. But the biggest things that you can do is just learn about the currencies you have, earn as many points by aligning. The goal is every single dollar you spend, you should be earning more than 1 point.
Okay.
Because there are credit cards, you can have a Chase Sapphire Reserve, like I said, it's 3x, but everything else is 1. So don't put everything else on the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Put it on a Capital One Venture X card, that's 2x on everything. So you're going to put your 4x groceries on Amex Gold, and dining, 3x travel on Chase, and then everything else on a Capital One. That is like a trilogy of cards that work very well together. They work in different ways, and the sign-up bonuses on those cards can be easily 100,000 points and up. But I will just advise, like when you get a new credit card, make sure you hit the spend. Usually it's 4,000 or 6,000. So
within 3 months or something.
And the clock starts ticking when you're approved, not when you get your card and activate it, which a lot of people get tripped up on. So always don't bite off more than you can chew, get 5 cards and be like, oh no, I need to spend 10 grand this month that I wasn't expecting.
All of a sudden those free perks aren't so free. We're starting to run out of time here, so I just want to ask you, just in terms of the overall picture of how travel is going to change with AI, because when ChatGPT really first started being talked about, the example that people were using is, it's going to be your AI assistant, it's going to plan trips for you. How do you see travel changing with AI?
I think we need huge disruption. I'm an expert, and it still takes me so much time. Even hotel booking, I think, is so archaic. It hasn't changed in 20 years. If you want to go to a new city and you want to stay in the cool neighborhood, near the art scene, but not in a rundown neighborhood, you've got to have Google Maps, this, that, you're having TripAdvisor, everything. It is painful. Travel booking, So I think there's a huge opportunity for AI to instantly scan and start to know about you, where you like to stay. I think there's a huge opportunity. I think also in customer service, airlines are horrible.
Right.
They melt down. Oh, there's a huge storm.
And then your
call time is 9 hours. A lot of the chatbots though have gotten much better, where you can automate a lot of that. So and the same with airports and biometrics. And why do we have people going with the exhausted agent eyeing an old ID? Technology can do it way quicker, safer. So I think the whole travel industry, there's a lot of opportunity that will benefit the consumer.
We thought it'd be fun to do a little flash round.
Okay.
So quick one-word answers, just for a few fun questions about you. All right?
Okay,
you ready?
let's do it.
Window or aisle?
Window.
Number of countries you visited?
I think about 80.
Number 1 place on your bucket list?
Antarctica.
Most expensive place you've traveled?
Hungary.
Favorite airport?
I do love Doha.
Favorite airport snack?
I am a fan of, oh my gosh, what's my favorite? I like in the lounge. I'm just like a cookie, soft baked cookie, like in a lounge.
Okay. Podcast or playlist?
Playlist.
Movie or book?
Book.
Headphones immediately on, or do you chat with your seatmate first?
Immediately before boarding.
Must-have travel item?
My Bose QC headphones. I have a 2-year-old, and even he can get annoying.
Best site for plane tickets?
Google Flights, and you learn how to use the Explore map. It allows you to put in your home city and then just Europe and sniff the deals out. Go where you find the cheapest deals.
TSA pre-check or clear?
Pre-check.
28 cards you said you have. How many are in your wallet?
Only 5 or 6.
And how many are you actually using?
2 or 3.
Okay. Hidden gem vacation destination that won't break the bank?
The Azores, Portugal. I love Portugal. So affordable when you get there, healthy. I know this is more than one answer, but Azores are so close to halfway.
I went years ago. It's absolutely magical. And finally, the best travel tip to make your points go further.
The best travel tip is be a little bit bold. Airlines will open. Actually, no. My best travel tip is when you make a booking, keep monitoring it and editing it to make it better. The number one thing people don't realize about points, there's a lot of things people don't realize, is that you can change them now for free up until departure. So if you spend $200,000 on a flight to London, ooh, it was kind of high. Well, guess what? It's probably going to drop lower up until departure. And when it does, you can just rebook it online, get the points back, or switch to a different currency when you see them drop, get all your points back. So be bold and don't, even if you pay for a hotel, always monitor it and see if it drops in price and rebook it before the cancellation period.
But only if they're booked in points.
Well, actually, booked in point or paid. A lot of times you can book a refundable hotel. Car Rentals AutoSlash is a website where it'll automatically email you when the rate drops. And for Costco members, the Costco rates drop often within 48 hours before pickup. And you can usually cancel car rentals up until pickup time.
All right.
So always keep monitoring.
So much good info. Brian Kelly, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Safe travels.
That's Brian Kelly, founder of The Points Guy. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Market Overtime. Be sure to tune in to Schwab Network on schwabnetwork.com or on our YouTube page. I'm Caroline Woods. Thanks so much for tuning in.